All right, my name is John Eccles, candidate for Department F, Family Court Judge. I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Because my dad worked for Chrysler International, I had an opportunity to live on 4 continents. So I lived 5 years in Argentina, 4.5 years in South Africa, spent about a year in Germany, the remainder of the time in the United States. I went and graduated from the University of Toledo, received a Bachelor of Arts in Communication with a concentration in Public Relation. Followed that up with a law degree from the University of Toledo College of Law. At the time, there was a quirky part of the rule. The Nevada Bar only offered once a year. And so I had an opportunity to take and pass the Nevada Bar prior to graduation. Upon graduation, I moved here to Clark County, Nevada, where I have lived since February of 1999. And that's also when I started practicing law. My focus area of concentration for the past 11 years has been in family law, about 85 to 90% of my practice.
Hi, Ellen Bezian. I'm a 35-year Nevada resident. I was born also, as John, in Michigan, in Detroit actually. And I'm from a military family. Went to school, elementary school, at a Naval Air Station in Pensacola, Florida. My father was a Korean veteran naval aviator. And we lived in Coronado Island, moved around, but I am a military family. My father also was a retired well. I attended UNLV and got 2 degrees, a master's in English, as well as my bachelor's. There was no law school here, so I went back to Michigan and got my law degree. Returned here to Nevada, again, because I've maintained my residency throughout. So here 35 years. I've been practicing for 13 years in family law. I have my own practice. I've worked other cases, the Jessica Williams case, for example, with John Watkins. I'm still appellate co-counsel for Jessica, and we're still fighting to try to get her out of prison. We have a pending case in federal court. However, my main focus is family law. It's the area that I love and that I practice on a daily basis. And if you have any questions, I know John and I'd be happy to answer them.
Ellen Bezian.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Heidi.
Hi, Heidi.
My question is this. I know in other states they have mandatory education that judges have to take while they're on the bench. What mandatory education at this point do judges have to take? I'm pretty sure there's ethics involved and keeping up with the new laws that come into play. But as far as other education around child development or domestic violence, do you believe it should be mandatory for there to be education units that judges need to take while they're on the bench serving the people that are in front of them going through these specific problems?
There is attendance at the Judicial College, and I would believe, not having attended, I know that Judge Gonzalez could answer that question, but I do believe that it's relevant that judges who see practitioners regularly in a specified area like family law do take classes, do attend seminars, do attend meetings, and I know from the judges that I'm friendly with and socialize with and appear in front of, they do that regularly. And I do think the judges in family court make every effort to be in touch with domestic violence issues, co-parenting issues, reunification issues, and I do think it's stressed among the judges. And yes, just as attorneys take continuing legal education, I know that judges stay abreast.
Thank you.
This might be a good opportunity to allow Judge Gonzalez to give his bio information.
Okay, I'm Judge Gonzalez. I'm currently sitting in Department F in Family Court. I was appointed last year. I went through the appointment process, which is a very grueling process where you pretty much lay your soul out in front of members of the community. Once you get through that process, you're then selected to go in front of the governor, and you get appointed from there, and then after that you're up for election in the next go-round. I worked prior to taking the bench. I've been on the bench a year as a trial attorney. The last 5 of those years I was in family court. working with juveniles, and I think the last question that was asked is excellent. If you look at the development that they have nowadays in doing brain imaging and brain scanning and looking at the development of the juvenile brain is just amazing. There's a wealth of information that pretty much tells us out there that the juvenile brain doesn't work the same as an adult brain. And when you're dealing with juveniles in family court, it's very important to understand what's going on in their mind. You may make an order as a judge to a teenager that they're not going to understand, and they're not going to want to comply, and so you need to understand. And so to the extent that you're sitting on the bench, I think you need to be aware of multiple areas as far as domestic violence and the dynamics that go along with domestic violence in a home. I think in many instances it's not the legal issues that are the most important ones, but it's the issues that are related to them. For example, if you have somebody coming in indicating that there's domestic violence going on in the home, you need to understand risk assessments as to, is it safe for that child to be with one of the parents? Is somebody at risk? And a lot of those dynamics, if you don't have experience dealing with those issues, you may make a decision that could put somebody's life in harm. And as an attorney, I always made sure that I would take as many classes and more in different areas that would help me, and I think judges should do the same.
Did you want to apply to the same question?
I'd be happy to do that unless you want to pass on to the next question. Aside from the National Judicial College up in Reno, the family court judges also convene usually once a year right before Ely to deal with specific and newly created or newly identified issues that arise on a regular basis in family court. So I know that the judiciary actually devotes a fairly significant amount of time just before our annual family law conference in dealing with those issues that are currently hot button issues, which among others fairly frequently involve domestic violence issues, and how best to treat the dysfunctional family in trying to make sure that everybody's adequately and safely protected, as well as making sure that we protect parents' rights as much as is humanly possible.
Good afternoon, Travis Berry here. This question is for Judge Gonzalez. Do you have a procedure in place to identify active duty military and veterans as they come through your court?
What I have in place, and the other judges also, generally when they come in, they file various motions. Additionally, there's, if it's a divorce or a custody matter, you have to file a financial disclosure form. A lot of that information is found in the financial disclosure form as far as what their employment history is, and somebody's actively in the military, that information is generally there, or if somebody's a retired from the military, one of our retired veterans, that information's there, and I generally have information as to the pension that they're getting, and there's rules as far as when you're splitting somebody's pension if you're a veteran, how you handle that. I did want to go back to the other question because I just come in and I didn't hear all of it, but when you take the bench as a district court judge, you do 2 weeks back in Reno, and it's general jurisdiction that you're dealing with jury trials, you're dealing with bench trials, and a lot of things that are not particularly related to a family court judge. Then you go back for another week and you take a week in just family related issues as far as domestic violence, as far as custody issues, child support, all those issues, and so I've gone through that. And then they have another, it's now a 4-day class as far as judicial ethics, which is very important in our community. We would hope that our judges are ethical. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions as to, for the first questions with veterans, as far as being aware that they're in the courtroom, I'd certainly, in my department, I'd be welcome to any suggestions.
That information is available, but is it collected?
I'm not aware of any of the judges on the bench collecting that information. That's certainly information that we could collect.